I'm happy to report that Congressman John Larson is definitely back and at full strength. He has been eating his proverbial Wheaties. He appears to be very hydrated, very energized, and may I suggest you get out of his way. Watch this.
Men and women on this committee are good people. They're honest and caring people. And that's why I do not understand why you would relegate this committee to no longer being of significance and resort to saying you will do whatever Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell you to do. Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? We're an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather, and yet look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what he intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night. People are aware of this. Every single one of your districts. Now you have someone coming in to privatize a system, something you have longed to do going back to 1982, because Elon Musk thinks that this is the best thing to do. President Trump has called Social Security a scam. Elon Musk, as the chairman, as Mr. Neal said, called it a Ponzi scheme. Ask that of the people in your district. Ask that, Mr. Smith, of the more than 198,000 people in your district who rely on Social Security, and you won't even let the person who's planning to privatize it, who's telling the big lie in front of everyone, in bold as he possibly can, saying, this is what we're going to do. The Congress is in our back pocket. We don't even have to come before them and testify because we control the House, we control the Senate, and we control the presidency. And it's the tyranny of the executive. It's why these resolutions were first adopted back in 1789, because the founding fathers knew that the executive branch does not have total authority over the legislature unless you have a willing party that says, no, we're going to do exactly what you tell us to do, Mr. Musk and Mr. President. It doesn't matter to our constituents. It doesn't matter how much money they are not going to receive. We're not even going to tell them the truth about what's going to happen to them. They administer to over 70 million people in the nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and children. Shame! Shame! Can't bring people in front of this body? If he's right, if they're so good, if they're so just, why aren't they here telling the American people about it? They're not, because you know the truth. It's about privatization. I yield back.
That is veteran Democratic Congressman John Larson of Connecticut, just ripping the bark off today about Social Security and what Republicans are really doing here. And indeed, as he was ripping that bark off in Congress, look at what the Washington Post was publishing just down the road. Quote, Social Security facing pressure from DOJ weighs big cuts to phone service. Agency considers ending phone program that is used by millions of elderly and disabled Americans. One gobsmacked Social Security Administration employee told the Post today that this radical change, this radical cut to services that they were moving on in the Trump administration, quote, would be the single largest service disruption in agency history ever. The single largest service disruption in Social Security ever. Elon Musk's plan for Social Security was to, quote, end telephone service for claims processing, instead directing elderly and disabled people to the internet and to in-person field offices. Quote, the agency's toll-free number is a mainstay for older customers who do not have online access or who have trouble navigating the internet. About 40% of the claims that get made to Social Security are made over the phone, using this phone line that Elon Musk now wants to kill. 40% of the claims at the agency. And naturally, this move to close the phone line and instead force old people and disabled people to go in person to in-person field offices, naturally, that comes as Donald Trump is firing 7,000 people who work at Social Security and closing tons of the aforementioned field offices. President Biden's Social Security Administrator, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, ripped the bark off himself in his comments to the Post on this planned cut. Quote, it would certainly appear, he said, that they're trying to break the capacity of the agency to serve its customers. And I suppose if they're trying to dismember the agency, liquidate its assets, sell pieces of it to their billionaire friends to run, they have to discredit the agency in the eyes of its customers, and they do that by breaking its ability to serve. The Post says, quote, the DOJ-driven proposal to shift all claims processing online and to in-person offices has spurred pushback internally, employees said, and from outside experts, for the same reasons, that it would be likely to imperil millions of Americans' ability to receive their earned benefits. This is what they're doing. This is what's going on. And so this is what happens today. Congressman John Larson, who I just showed you, screams his freaking head off in Congress about it this morning. Screams at them. And then at noon, the Washington Post publishes this horror movie script about their plan, indeed, to rip the guts out of Social Security. Beyond firing everybody, which they're already doing, right? Beyond closing the field offices, they're now making it so that old and disabled people literally cannot call anyone to find out what's going on. But then you know what happened? They caved. They decided not to do it. Don't let anybody tell you that pushback doesn't work. Don't let anybody tell you that yelling and making a fuss doesn't matter, or that journalism doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't always matter, but honestly, it's the only thing that ever does. Every single time you don't try, you lose. But sometimes when you try, you win. It's the reason it's worth trying. And so now this is the headline at the Washington Post as of 7 o'clock tonight. Quote, Social Security scraps far-reaching cuts to phone services after Post report. Quote, the Social Security Administration late Wednesday abandoned plans it was considering to end phone service for millions of Americans filing retirement and disability claims after the Washington Post reported that Elon Musk's U.S. DOJ service team was weighing the change. The shift would have directed elderly and disabled people to rely on the internet and in-person field offices to process their claims, curtailing a service that 73 million Americans have relied on for decades to access earned government benefits. They were going to do this. We did good journalism exposing that this is what they were planning on doing. And the resulting eruption scared them and made them not do it. Pushback matters. Exposing what they are doing matters. Demanding Republicans fill the chair, show up, invite the witnesses in, let us question people, demanding that Republicans actually answer for what Trump is doing, Republicans actually explain themselves, try to justify what it is he's doing, it turns out those demands can have an effect.